It's Easter weekend. It's into the final month of the season. Attention is fully on the league, and there are just 8 games to go. Starting today, away at Morecambe.
The players are not daft. They get that final was a big day in the league, and the last 8 games are always going to be more important. So we'll be ready.
We're in a great position, so we've got lots to be excited about, look forward to. So we're just going with our heads high and do what we've been doing all season, really. Positive, stick together as a group, and we'll be okay.
Yeah, hopefully we will be okay. The race for promotion starts today for Argyle. 8 games to play, 8 huge matches for the Greens, and the fate is well and truly in their own hands. Memories of Wembley are being quickly forgotten. I think we all need to try and forget them if we can, and attention has turned to Morecambe away today. Has been since the moment that final whistle went. Derek Adams' side are after the points as much as Argyle are for the opposite reasons. Their 2-season stay in Sky Bet League One looks like it could be coming to an end pretty soon unless they start picking up points pretty regularly. So a lot to play for this afternoon, lots to discuss as well. We'll be hearing from Stephen Schumacher and Dan Scarr, who will be zoning in on finishing the job that they've already started this season. We'll also hear from Derek Adams, who has a lot to say about his love for Plymouth Argyle as well. And of course, we'll bring you all the team news and views ahead of kickoff, which is at 3 o'clock today. And you can watch the game live on Argyle TV. £10 is what it costs for a match pass. You can find them on our website, pafc.co.uk. Just click on the Argyle TV tab. Well, let's get stuck into it, shall we? Brian McGlinchey, the former Argyle defender, is with me. And Wembley last weekend, Mazuma Stadium today. This is what it's all about, though, isn't it? Today and the rest of the season.
Well, you sort of said in your earlier comments, we've got to forget about Wembley. I think that's what the players have got to do today. Just totally get out of their minds. It was just an awful day, really, for Argyle in the sense of the result. But for me, this is the goal, getting promoted, and this is what we've got to concentrate on and forget about it, really. No negative thoughts.
Right, this is the very last time we're going to mention Wembley, I think.
Good.
But as you've just said, this is the perfect chance to respond. A result today and everything from last Sunday will be forgotten.
Yeah, it will be. If you look through the season when we've had difficult results, we've actually come back and we've gone on a run of 4 or 5 games of really good victories. So I think today will be a tough test because mentally they'll have to get over that. The initial stages of the game will be tough for them. But if they do that today, then they can kick on.
Right. Let's not waste any time and have a look at the Argyle side for this afternoon's game. Lots of changes made by Stephen Schumacher for this one. 5 in total. And we'll have a look at it in just a second. But if we read through the sides for you now, we've got Callum Burton obviously staying in goal. The 5 changes see Brendan Galloway, who came on halfway through the game against Bolton last weekend. He comes into the starting lineup, as do Matt Butcher, Mikel Miller, Tyreek Wright and Sam Cosgrove. So the players that miss out: Gillespie, Matete, Mumba, Mayer, Callum Wright. Looking at the side, there it is on your screens now, Brian. Lots of changes, probably not unexpected, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I expect the changes, to be honest. I think freshen up the team. Maybe a bit of a reaction as well from the weekend. But for me, what I do like, I think for me, Butcher and Houghton in the middle of the park have been really strong. I feel they've been done really well. So I think it's interesting to see that the Butcher's back in a sense. He's gone obviously with Cosgrove up front as well, which is a big one for us as well. Which is really I think that's important. A bit more aerial threat. I think last week the weekend we sort of lacked that bit of presence up front. Whilst I know Hardy didn't get much service, but yeah, I think it's the strange one for me is Tyreek Wright and where he plays, what sort of positions he takes. Haven't seen much of him, as many Argyle fans haven't either. So interesting to see how he plays today.
Yeah, he either starts or he's not involved in the squad at all since he's been in, and he gets the nod over the likes of Callum Wright, who started at Wembley. Yeah. Again, you mentioned the attacking style and didn't really get into the full swing of things, but it looks like a change of formation as well with the 2. Hardy and Cosgrove with Wright just behind. Yeah,
that'll be good, because if he can get on the ball into those half spaces, he can. They've got a willing runner, and then they've got someone to hold the ball up front. So it could be a good combination. But that's what this Schumacher's done really well this year. It's not predictable. He changes the formation, changes players. So it's not like, for instance, the opposing manager can sort of do their homework throughout the week, because he doesn't know what side they're going to line up with, doesn't know what sort of formation they're going to line up with. So I'd say that unpredictability is a real asset this year.
Just should make the point as well that Finn Azaz, who was a substitute obviously in the game against Bolton, he's got an illness today. Macaulay Gillespie likewise, hence why they're not in the squad at all. And we quite often talk about substitutions and how they make a difference, but looking at it, having Callum Wright, Jay Matete, Danny Mayer, who scored up at Morecambe last season, waiting in the wings, they all feel like they probably have a bit of a point to prove, having started on the weekend and now being taken out of the side today. Yeah,
they'll have a bit of frustration, 100%, because when you sort of maybe don't play to the ability you can, and then you're sort of not dropped but you're rested, as I would say, for the next game, then you've got a point to prove. So yeah, they'll have that extra motivation. And they probably will be needed, because I think this will be a tough game. I think they're fighting for their lives, as they say. They're coming off a dreadful performance against Barnsley, wasn't it? So they'll have a point to prove. So yeah, I think the bench will be needed, and that's the one thing in comparison to earlier on the season. We had kids making up the bench. Now we don't. Experienced pros in there, so that's all bodes well.
Well, let's have a look at the Morecambe side as well. As you mentioned, they had a pretty terrible result last weekend as well, losing 5-0 at Bolton. Derek Adams knows he's in a scrap. He did it last season with Morecambe, came back in and kept them up. But he's made 2 changes from the side that got beaten at Barnsley last weekend. That sees a first start for Osterfield, young midfielder who's on loan this season from Huddersfield. He starts in midfield with Umar Niasse, the former Everton striker, dropping to the bench. And the other changes in defence with Ryan Delaney coming in for Bordeaux. They similarly, Brian, look as if they've maybe gone for a change of formation. They had been playing with 2 up front, Cole Stockton and Niasse, with Crowley just behind. By the looks of things, he's adding Derek Adams to that midfield, the solidity, basically trying to make it difficult for Argyle to play through.
Yeah, and that's what they'll try and do. They'll sort of maybe see as an opportunity to maybe get at Argyle, in the sense of make it difficult for them, with maybe being a little bit sort of tender after the final last weekend. So yeah, look, they haven't had a good season now. They're struggling. They're in the bottom 4 for a reason. So but some of the players we sort of talking off air, when they Crowley and Stockton, they're probably players that maybe if they can play anything like they normally can play, they will cause problems. But for me, it's all about what Argyle do. If every player wins their individual battles, we know we've got a better 11 on our side, and hopefully that will happen today.
Yeah, you mentioned Stockton. 26 goals in all competitions last season. He's got 5 this season. Their top scorer, incidentally, Morecambe, is Jensen Weir, midfielder. If you take out that many goals from a side that was battling at the bottom anyway last season, you're going to be struggling, aren't you?
100%. Like we sort of, when we were doing the home game here, we were sort of looking at him, and I didn't think he was very mobile on that day. I thought he was maybe not as fit as he probably could be. So I don't think he caused us any problems that day. So hopefully it'll be the same. But you're right, that's a lot of goals to lose. So hopefully it'll be the same today.
Right, we mentioned at the top the form of Morecambe and the fact that they are struggling for wins, for points at the minute. If we just go through a couple of them, they're currently 4 points from safety. They played a couple of games extra from the other sides that are around them at the bottom of the table. No wins in their last 8 and only 1 win from their last 6 home games. They actually went through a little renaissance when Derek Adams came in, especially at home, picking up some very good results. But that seems to have just ebbed away a little bit, and it's well reported the financial problems that are going on at Morecambe. It all seems to be kind of in a big melting pot, doesn't it? When it's going wrong off the field, it nearly always is going wrong on the field as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like spiraling out of control in the sense of not picking up points, maybe off the field, maybe not getting paid in time, as you sort of suggested there as well. So, yeah, they're going through difficult moments. But look, they're all professional footballers out there. They'll have pride. They'll want to do well for their teams. And if they could pick up 4 or 5 wins, they'll be out of this relegation issue. So they'll have something to prove. So, yeah, we just got to concentrate on our own job, I think. And it's the whole cliches do come out, but essentially it's as simple as that. If Argyle do what they can and what they've demonstrated all season, I think it should be a comfortable 3 points.
Just looking at the pitch and the weather as well, all adding up for a good afternoon's action, good afternoon's game of football. Right, this is Argyle TV. Coming up next, we'll hear from the manager, Stephen Schumacher. Don't go anywhere. Well, of course, we all know Sunday was a disappointment for everybody involved with Argyle. And Stephen Schumacher is tasked with trying to get everybody ready for the final push. How is he feeling about it? Well, let's find out.
Just got to be positive and go for it. I think it's going to be exciting. Yeah. There's 2 games this weekend on the Easter weekend, which are really important. So if we can get some points in them, and maximum points will be ideal. If we could get them, then it sets us up for the last 6 games, which is going to be huge. So yeah, it feels a lot. 8 games, well, there's 7 games isn't it, in April and 1 in May, so it feels a lot, but hopefully we're ready for it.
It does feel a lot, but this type of the season, people always talk about Christmas being a busy period and you can pick up points, what have you, but Easter really feels like that. The double game weekend, sun's out, hopefully. Matches mean a lot at this time of year, don't they?
Yeah, and quite often the Easter period can define people's seasons. If you're looking to chase, or you're in and around a playoff picture and you can get 6 points, then it gives you a right good chance. If you're down at the bottom and you can get a few points over the Easter weekend, then again it can springboard. So we're in the top 2, and we need to make sure that we're ready, and I'm ready to compete and fight to get as many points as we can. So, because we know the other teams behind us are going to obviously have the same eye on the same thing. So, yeah, we have to make sure that we just deal with the next game that's in front of us, which is Morecambe, which is never an easy game. Don't care where they are in the league, it's never an easy game. And make sure that we go and try and win it, yeah.
How has it been this week? Obviously, the disappointment of Sunday we all know about. And leading up into this game, there wasn't a massive time in between. How has preparation been? How have the players been? How has the mood been?
The mood's been okay. Look, we stayed over after the game on Sunday, and it was nice to see the players' families come back to the team hotel and sit round and have a chat to a few of them, met a few of them for the first time. And what stood out to me was that how much that people's family and friends care for them and support them, and want the players and all of us to do so well. And that's the same for all of the fans really who support us up and down the country. Obviously everyone was really disappointed on Sunday, and then Monday we had to travel back from London it was good yesterday to get the players in, because we had a load of under-8s in yesterday who are going to be the next crop of academy graduates. So that was good. It was a nice, relaxing day, and good to see them, and yeah, it sort of lightened the mood a little bit. And then today's training session was really sharp, so good. We spoke yesterday morning to the players about it, didn't go into the detail of the game, didn't feel as though that was necessary, but we just said, look, we're ready to go again, we have to be positive, stick together as a group, and we'll be okay.
Because the task in hand for the rest of the season is bigger than what was on Sunday, isn't it, with promotion on the cards?
Yeah, and as I said, we would have said that before if we'd have won the game anyway. So if we'd have won on Sunday, we'd have been having the same conversation with the players on Tuesday, obviously just with a trophy. We'd have still been saying, right, it's time to focus, it's time to stick together, it's time to show how good you are as a team. And that message is what we've given to the players. So they all knew that anyway. The players are not daft. They get that final was a big day, and it would have been an unbelievable thing to win the first trophy for the club in the history. But the league and the last 8 games are always going to be more important. So we'll be ready.
Well, I don't know whether you've ever kind of had a big disappointing result nearing kind of the end of the season, but from your experience as being in dressing rooms, especially challenging for promotion, what will be the key messages that Stephen Schumacher will be trying to get across to his squad at the moment?
I guess the key thing is confidence, the fact that where they are on the table. They've demonstrated over a league campaign they're one of the best teams in this division. So on a given day and a cup final, things like that can happen. So I think that's the message he will remind himself. I think, yes, you've got to look at the result and think it was really disappointing, but you've got to take into context that was a one-off game, and it just happened to be in a final in a big crowd at Wembley. So yes, but look, the fundamentals are this is a top team, and they're really consistent. They can dig in and dig results out when they're not playing well, and they've scored lots of goals this year, and they're getting full houses at home park. So yeah, I think there's so much to be positive about, and I think you'll be forgetting about it if they go up.
Yeah, and I suppose it probably makes it easier, the fact that they do have so much still to play for as well. I mean, if you come off the back of a result like that and you kind of didn't have much to kind of look forward to,
I guess that would hurt you more in the sense, because you had a chance of some silverware and to maybe have a good season and end the season well. But the fact that they've got fundamentally their biggest goal is promotion, and they've still got that in their sights. Yes, I think it's an unbelievable achievement when you look at the sort of the caliber of the teams that are in this division, and the budgets they're equipped with, and we're I don't know what the Argyle budget is, but I suggest it's nowhere near some of what Wednesday's is or Ipswich's is. So for me, it's a fantastic achievement what the squad has done, the whole club, the infrastructure the club's done this year.
Yeah, and looking at those other games, Argyle haven't played. Oh, sorry, other teams. Argyle haven't played in the league for 17 days. It's quite a long time, but they haven't really moved anywhere. Still joint top of the table. Sides around them, Sheffield Wednesday are on this little bit of a slump. No wins in 4. So Barnsley lost against Exeter City, which kind of meant that they moved further away. So, things couldn't have gone better really for Argyle, because they've all caught up with games.
Yeah.
And Argyle are still where they are.
Yeah, I think that's been a real plus in the sense, because you're always thinking, oh, Barnsley are 2 games in hand. You're always worried about what could happen. But now everyone's on a sort of even keel in the sense of games. So it's up to each team now to go and win their games or not get beat at least. And but you're right. Wednesday have gone on a bit of a difficult run. Like Forest Green picking up a result. When Forest Green came down here, I thought, that they'll never get a victory this year, and they went and got a result. So you just don't know who you're playing against, and that's why we've got to be so careful today, because you've just got to treat every game as it comes and be really, really well prepared. But I think the boys will be so motivated to get a result today.
Yeah. And they've also had to play against sides that are in this position. You mentioned Forest Green. Didn't make it easy for Argyle here necessarily. They sat back. Yeah. Then there was a game against Accrington, which was similar. They're similar to Morecambe. They've got a style of playing, and it was a pretty tight game. So the last 2 matches they've played against sides in the position Morecambe are in and come away with wins.
And that's how impressive they are. I don't think Argyle have played brilliantly in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but they've got results, haven't they? And that's one of the things this team does really well. I think they're a lot more robust than they've ever been. You know, they can sort of mix it with the good sort of passing teams, but then when they have to dig in and get a result, they've got a squad now that they can, you know, change around to sort of. I think the Wigan game comes to mind when they went and changed their formations for that game. So yeah, I think it's for me, I'm really confident that they will get over the line.
Starts today, of course. Well, the defence came in for specific criticism on the weekend, obviously shipping the goals that they did. But it was also the first time that Dan Scarr had started in almost 2 months. He's had a bit of a stop-start season, but is remaining positive, especially given the fact that Argyle are still, as we've been saying, joint top with 80 points already on the board.
If you offered me that before I'd kicked the ball to start the season, I'd snap your hand off. I think most of the fans would as well. Yeah, to be able to have 8 games left and be on the points tally of what we were last year is a great achievement. And for the lads that we brought in, the staff and everything, it's a credit to what we've done this season. But obviously nothing's done yet. There is 8 games to play for, and they're big games, and we're just going to go into it and just do the best we can.
I am going to rip the band-aid off now and just ask about Sunday and how that has affected, positively, negatively, whatever, the squad. Is it something that you can use as a, listen, we've got to go and get the job done now? Yeah.
I think obviously Sunday, everyone was hurt, everyone was annoyed, there wasn't many conversations, and like we had some time with our family this Sunday night all together, which was nice. That was like a nice moment for everyone to be together. Monday again was quiet. But we all just said in the changing rooms after the game and stuff like that, like obviously it was quiet for a bit, and then we started talking, and we've got to use that as motivation. We haven't really got time to be down about it and dwell on it and stuff. It's a cup final, it's gone, and we're joint top of the league, so we were 8 games to play for to get promoted. So it's kind of one of them, you just forget about it now, it's done. It wasn't a good day. We apologise for the performance that we had, and we move on, and we go and put it right now in the league.
Yeah, as you said, you don't have much time to dwell on it, and it's a double header coming up as well this weekend. So in the space of a week, you can basically have put that right to the back of your memory, can't you?
Definitely. I think in this, like in football nowadays, if you get a bad result, you just want the next game to come as quick as possible, and Friday can't come quick enough for the fans, for the players, staff. We all just want to get on with it and get on with the league now and put that to bed. So obviously we had a meeting about it yesterday. We said, like, we went over a few things that said, like, look, forget about it. We're going to put it right now by doing this, and I'm sure the celebrations if we get promoted will be a lot better than they were for the Papa Johns.
Well, it obviously wasn't an ideal return for him, coming back in that final, Brian. But how good is it to have someone like Dan Scarr, the fact that he's a bit of a leader in the dressing room as well, back for this final push?
Massive. I think for me, the back three recruitment has been immense. I think since those sort of 2-3 players have come in, they've been a real solid foundation for us. And him, immense. Any ball goes in the air, he's always winning those challenges. He loves a battle, doesn't he, with a opposing centre forward. So yeah, I think it'd be a big plus for us coming back. Obviously, they come back in last weekend after that period off was a tough ask for him. But yeah, he's gonna, for the last 8 remaining games, yeah, he'd be first in the team sheet for me.
Do you think it's any surprise that in the last month or so, the away games that we've seen, especially I'm thinking Peterborough, thinking Barnsley, 8 goals conceded in those games, he wasn't involved, obviously. And do you reckon that has any bearing on it, because he is such a focal point of that defence?
Very much. I think in this division, you're gonna have to roll your sleeves up and battle with teams. Teams will want to, put the ball in the air. And you have to win those aerial challenges and play off the second ball. So, if he can win the majority of them, it makes it easier for Argyle to get higher up the pitch. So, yeah, and he's a leader. He talks. You can see him communicating with everyone across the pitch. So, yeah, 100%. I think he will being definitely a miss. I think obviously the goalkeeper as well has been a miss. I think. Not that Burton's done a bad job in the sense of it's just that you've got Cooper behind you. You could probably maybe squeeze up the pitch that further 5 yards. That allows you to condense the game. And there are little small margins that allow you to get a tackle in the middle of the park that maybe stops an attack. little small, little marginal gains that gives you.
Yeah, I think that's probably been one of the criticisms with the defence has been that you know, you look at James Wilson and Nigel Lundvik and Macaulay Gillespie that have been playing there predominantly, and they're all good players in their own right. And as you say, 2 of those 3 have made up a really solid back 3 anyway. But there isn't that real physical presence. And if you look at, I'm going to take those 2 games again. You look at the Peterborough game, you look at the Barnsley game. Johnson Clark-Harris for Peterborough, big physical striker that's good in the air, can hold up play. And James Norwood, similarly for Barnsley. You know, we've maybe missed that player that can just have a bit of a physical impact on the game. And if you look at today, it's going to be Cole Stockton, who again is 6'2", 6'3", physical player. That could be a key battle, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think Scar loves someone who's trying to back into him and he can feel them and he can, he can maybe outpower them. I feel he'll prefer that type of game. I think if he's up against a centre forward that maybe he's going short, then nipping in behind, going in long, he may not want to play against those types of centre forwards. So yeah, you're right. I think he's a big miss for us, but he's come in now, and hopefully he can see out the next 8 games and get us over the line.
Just looking at pictures from the Mazuma Stadium at the moment. Mentioned the weather earlier. We actually spoke about it when we were coming in. Cheers everybody's moods up, doesn't it?
It does.
But this Easter weekend, as a fan and someone who's watched football, I love it. Because you've got 2 games in 4 days. The sun is generally out, and it's right in the crux part of the season. And I mentioned it to Stephen Schumacher in the week that Christmas is spoken about as a time when there's loads of games and fans love it or whatnot. But as a player, surely Easter would have been the time. Games mean such a lot.
Well, every game means a lot, to be honest.
What's a footballer's answer?
But you're right. I think if you win these 2 games, it sets you up nicely. 6 games to go, and then you're in the final push, aren't you? So if they can, if they can sit here on Monday night with 6 points, wow, I think that'd be a massive pressure off, especially after the last weekend. Keep mentioning it. I'm not going to talk about it again.
Let's stop that.
Yeah,
let's get rid of
yes, 100%. I think as a fan, it'd be amazing sitting there in the sun. Maybe a few beers before the game. What more can you want? Watching your team play football.
And you've got a couple of days off as well because of the Easter weekend. If I had to push you on, so Argyle 80 points at the minute, 8 games to go. The max they could get to, doing my maths, 104 points, 24 points to play for. How many more wins, or what's the points tally do you think Argyle probably are looking at and thinking that's the one that they need? Bearing in mind, Ipswich and Barnsley play each other in a couple of weeks' time, so they can't get maximum points. No one will probably go on a run to get maximum points.
I think you're talking at least 5 wins. I think probably around that mark. I don't think you can lose many. I really don't. It's the fact that Barnsley and especially Barnsley Ipswich have been relentless, haven't they? They're always on our coattails and they keep going. So yeah, I think. I think obviously the home games are given. You have to win those. I think if we can pick up a few draws away from home, I think that might be enough. Yeah,
so it's 4 home games. So you need to try and pick up an extra 3 points from somewhere. Could be tonight, could be today.
Yeah, but look, it's so hard to call. It really is difficult. Like, as I say, football's so unpredictable where you think Forest Green, they're never going to get a win, and then they go and beat Wednesday, didn't they? So there you go. So it's a difficult one.
I'll put you on the spot and you answered it, so it's fine.
Difficult question, yeah.
It was fine, it was good. Right, reminder that you can watch today's game live on Argyle TV. Match passes can be bought from our website, pafc.co.uk. Just click on the Argyle TV tab. £10 it'll cost you to watch this afternoon's game. If you're not one of the lucky ones that's up at the Mazuma Stadium, Brian and I will be on commentary. We'll be bringing that game to you. So if you haven't already and you're watching on YouTube, then make sure you get across and buy your match pass so you can follow the Greens this afternoon. We'll be continuing our build-up. We've got about half an hour until kick-off. We've got 15 minutes left of this pre-match show. And coming up next, we'll be hearing from Morecambe's former Argyle manager, Derek Adams.
Can you pledge 35 hours for Project 35?
Pledge 35 hours for Project 35.
Pledge 35 hours for Project 35.
Well, Morecambe, a bit like Forest Green and Accrington, Argyle's last two opponents, are fighting for survival. It's been a tough season for many reasons for the Shrimps, but in particular off the field, with the players not being paid or either having to be paid late. Something that has been difficult for a young squad to deal with, that's had to be stewarded by Derek Adams.
It becomes difficult, but you are the leader of your players and your staff, and as a leader you've got to be seen to be supportive, and you can't go and hide away from the situation. You need to be on the main floor, and that's what I did, and that's what I always do. You know, I'm always one that leads from the front, good, bad or indifferent, and I think that is really important, and the players were informed by myself every day as best as I could, because information was difficult to come by, that what circumstances were going on, you know, around about us.
From what you said, it didn't affect Saturday's result at Barnsley. That's not an excuse.
No, it's not. You know, and you know, we look at the scoreline, we look at the game, and we look at the mistakes that we made. There were individual errors mostly for their goals, and you know, sometimes they got the better of us. To lose the goal so early was really disappointing, but it's one of these things that you know, happens.
It's another big game on Good Friday. One of your old clubs, Plymouth, doing really well, but thrashed at Wembley in the Papa John's final. Was that a good thing for you, or will they have a point to prove?
Yeah, I mean, I've got really happy memories, you know, of Plymouth Argyle. I spent 4 seasons there, and I've still got you know, friends in the area. I've still got you know, I speak to the Chairman Simon Hallett. I've got, you know, the Chief Executive, the old Chairman, and James Brent, and we still communicate with the Secretary as well. So it's a football club that I love. I've got a lot of affection for it. I probably miss it every day because of where it was situated down in Devon, and it was a tough time when I went there. I was there for 4 seasons, and you know, the next 2 managers, you know, probably saw the benefits of the hard work that so many people, including James Brent and his backroom team, put into the club to get to the position where they are now. Simon Hallett took over, invested a lot of money that we didn't have. You know, we didn't have any training pitches or that were of an adequate standard at the time, and we didn't know where the money was coming from. And the reason I got the job at Plymouth Argyle is because I could work within a budget, and that's the reason I probably get, you know, a number of jobs, including in Morecambe, because I have to work to the constraints that the football club have.
But despite that love, that clear love for Plymouth, you have to win on Good Friday, don't you?
Yeah, well, we've got to win, you know, every game between now and the end of the season to give ourselves an opportunity of staying in League One. It's been a very tough season for us, on and off the pitch, and off the pitch hasn't helped us on the pitch, and because we haven't been able to do what we want to do on the pitch. We've got a lot of younger players in the squad who have responded really well. We've taken in a lot of loan players, and you know, we've given ourselves still a fighting chance with 6 games to go to stay in League One.
Still clearly has a lot of love for Argyle. Spent 4 seasons here, won a promotion, obviously got relegated as well. But I suppose if there's one manager that's probably up for the task of trying to pull a club through like Morecambe, where he's already had success, got them promoted as well, in this sort of situation, it might be Derek Adams.
Yeah, he's got obviously the tools and the experience to do it. I think it was the starting fact. He said there's 6 games to go for them.
Yeah.
So they have to win today, don't they? If they have to get results now, really. So the pressure's on them. So that could work to our advantage. But you're right. Yeah, he's got a lot of affection for Plymouth, which, you know, rightly so. You know, a lot of people come down here and they never leave, like myself, to be honest. So yeah. So I've got a lot of love too for Argyle.
Yeah, good. That's what we want. Lots of love for Argyle. Brian McGlinchey and Derek Adams, like that. Let's remind ourselves of the 2 sets of team news now for this afternoon's game, which is kicking off in about 25 minutes' time. There he is, Derek Adams, and he was mentioning about the weather down in Plymouth, and we saw some pictures the last time we played Morecambe, which was in December, and it was a frozen pitch. Couldn't be more different today. Looking at that, he's got a smile on his face, enjoying it. Let's have a look at the Argyle side, though. There you go. 5 changes from the side that lost at Wembley. Tyreek Wright comes back in for just his 3rd start in an Argyle shirt. 2-man strike attack, Ryan Hardy and Sam Cosgrove. And you picked out earlier, Brian, the midfield too. Matt Butcher brought back in. He won the Club's Player of the Month award for March. Didn't start on Sunday, but he's straight back in again today. What do you think has clicked with him recently? Why do you think it's clicked so much? Maybe
I think when you come to club, you got to find your sort of rhythm. I think obviously the sort of pressure in the sense of people coming in, Matete coming in, maybe that's giving him that extra 10-15% to go and raise his game. But for me, the last sort of month, rightly so, he's got him and Houghton. I thought have been fantastic. They both complement each other really, really well. I was surprised. Not that I would ever doubt the manager. I think he's done an amazing job, but I was surprised he went with Matete instead of Butcher and Houghton for the cup final. But look, he's probably thinking of the bigger picture as well, isn't he? Thinking of what the other games to go, and what he felt was right. But yeah, I think it's them two sort of will sort of allow them, maybe the flair players, to get on the ball. Someone like Tariq Wright today to get on the ball and make things happen. But I think that sort of base is what you need, especially away from home as well.
Yeah. And just a quick one on Mikael Miller, who's in for Barley Mumba today. Nearly every time he's played, he's looked really good, Mikael Miller, hasn't he? But he's just not played enough. You're kind of thinking, let's just get a little run now between now and the end of the season for him.
Yeah, going forward, he looks a real threat, doesn't he? He looks to get half a yard and put a cross in. He's natural left footer. For me, that will if he can get to, as you're right, maybe 5 or 6 games out of him. Yeah, he could be a real sort of threat for us on the left-hand side. But look, Mumba's a great replacement as well if he has to come on or whatever. So good options, isn't there really? And it's good to see. Tariq Wright must be fresh as well. He won't be match fit, but he maybe will get 60-70 minutes out of him if he can sort of play in those pockets of space. I think he's the one that maybe could release in behind for Hardy running behind.
Well, let's have a look at the Morecambe side. They've made a couple of changes as well from their pretty humiliating defeat on the weekend as well at Barnsley. Those changes see Delaney come into a defensive lineup, and also Osterfield come in for his first start. Derek Adams mentioned it. It's a young squad. There's a couple of older players in and amongst it, but it's a pretty young squad. Lots of lone players. Some have worked. Jensen Weir's one of them, but they're in a battle, and sometimes you need a bit more experience than the younger ones to get you through. We'll see today.
Yeah, well, look, he's mentioned they've obviously got massive budget restraints. They've got to, play within those sort of constraints, and it's a tough job for them. You're right. They haven't got lots of quality, lots of experience there. They're going to be relying on the players that maybe we talked earlier around Stockton getting a lot of goals last year for them. This hasn't materialised this year for him, so he's got to try and come to fore for them in the next sort of 6 games or so. But I say what you'll get out of this side is effort, won't you, and endeavour. And Argyle have just got to match that. And if Argyle match that endeavour, that effort, the quality will come through 100%.
What they do have, though, is a keeper who is quite highly rated. Connor Ripley saved a penalty up here in the reverse fixture from Morgan Whittaker. He saved 5 of his 8 penalties he's faced this season. Most saves made in the division, which can go 2 ways, Brian, can't it? Obviously, your defence is probably the leakiest, but he has to keep them out. I mean, he probably is one of those in that lineup that could, well, I don't know, if they end up going down, will hold his head up quite high with the way he's put in performances.
Well, yeah. So Derek Adams did mention that a lot of young players coming into the squad and have done well. So that maybe would bode well. If they didn't stay up this year, they've got maybe more experience for next year in League 2. But as I say, yeah, right. If he's sort of done really well this year, and but you're right. He's probably been up against a lot of shots, so he's sort of save percentage is maybe going to be higher than maybe someone like Cooper for us, really. So, but yeah, fair play to him.
Right, we're getting closer and closer to kick-off. 3 o'clock, remember you can watch it live on Argyle TV. All the streaming passes are available on our website, costs just £10. If you haven't already, make sure you do get your pass. Stay with us, though, on this pre-match build-up show, because after this, we'll be chatting about the rest of League One and the other games that are coming up today. Well, just before we look at the other games that are happening today, we spoke briefly about it earlier on, Brian, the fact that Argyle find themselves in the position that they do. Joint top, 80 points from the matches that they've played already. They've already equalled last season's points tally with 8 to go. It is, and we've spoken about it, but it is already some effort to have gotten to this stage and put themselves in this position, knowing that the fate is well and truly in their hands. If they win every game, they go up as champions.
Yeah, if you look at last season, 80 points, and we didn't even make the playoffs. So it's a ridiculous points total to get promoted in these leagues. Really, a massive effort. You've got to dig in results in different parts of the season with injuries, loss of form, coming back off bad results or whatever. So for Argyle to be where they are is top drawer, really. And the manager would have, if he had this position at the start of the season, he would have snapped your hands off, wouldn't he? So, yeah, and they deserve it. They've shown, they've demonstrated over, and this is not just this season. I think last season this is an accumulation of the experiences they got last year as well. And they've maybe added to the squad. They ran out of legs last year. It was clear the last 6-7 games they ran out of legs, and they haven't got that now. And I think you might see a more maybe stable lineup for the next 6 or 7 games. That's how I maybe read it, because he's maybe rested and given players no time and to adjust. So I think now you might see a bit more of a settled 6 or 7 players, 8 players. Maybe just change a 1 or 2.
You mentioned last season not making the playoffs with 80 points. We were briefly talking about it off air, weren't we, about what might be needed to go up, and you said on this 5 more wins, so that's plugged in. If it's not enough, we blame you. Yeah. But if you do look at the 4 sides, really, Sheffield Wednesday and Argyle obviously on 80 points, Ipswich on 78, Barnsley on 75, they're probably the 4 sides. You could conceivably see all 4 of them getting to around the 90-point mark, and obviously 2 will be disappointed, which adds to what you were saying just a minute ago.
Yeah, we were talking off there last year. MK Dons 89 points, and they didn't go up. So yeah, it's gonna be in the 90s. We're gonna have to get to at least there to get promoted. And I think the lads know that. I think they just, but they won't be thinking like that. They literally will be thinking today and then Lincoln Monday. Do you know what I mean? That's the mentality you've got to have. Because if you start thinking of too far in advance, football's cruel. Football will kick you in the teeth, and you've just got to play the game of your hands and give it everything you've got and get the 3 points and then go from there, which the manager will be talking about. But the biggest thing for me is not let last weekend affect you. Just forget about it now. It's like, think about what we've done well this year and just concentrate on that positivity, really.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Let's just talk through a couple of the other games that are affecting Argyle really directly at the top of Sky Bet League One. We've mentioned the other 3 sides that are in and around us in terms of promotion places. So Sheffield Wednesday, who are on this little slump at the moment, that will no doubt change pretty soon because they're such a good team. They are at Oxford United this afternoon. Of course, have a new manager in Liam Manning. Got their first win under Liam Manning last weekend as well. Ipswich, hot on the heels, will be looking for an Argyle slip-up, no doubt. If they do get that and then beat Wickham at Portman Road today, they will go back up into the top 2. Similarly, if Sheffield Wednesday slip up as well. And the other big game really to look out for today, Barnsley, who did get that big win against Morecambe after defeat to Exeter City 10 days ago. They are at Burton Albion in the Pirelli Stadium this afternoon. We'll keep you up to date with all of those matches throughout the game today, which is getting closer and closer, and that is us pretty much done for the pre-match show here on Argyle TV. You can follow all of the action with us for just £10. You can buy your match pass on our website, pafc.co.uk. Just click on the Argyle TV tab to find all of your options. Myself and Brian will go and get ready for commentary because Argyle's trip to Morecambe is coming up next.